No matter how many boxes we carried out, the house was always full. This happened to my uncle Hiroshi in the spring of 2019. He worked for Yamato Moving Company, 15 years of experience. They assigned him to a traditional house in Shibuya, built in the 1960s. The client was an elderly woman, Mrs. Nakamura. She was moving to a nursing home, had lived there for 40 years. When they arrived at 7 a.m., the house was packed with belongings. Furniture stacked to the ceiling, boxes everywhere, decades of memories. Hiroshi's team started with the living room, working methodically. By noon, they had emptied 3 rooms completely. But when Hiroshi returned from lunch, the living room was full again. The same furniture, in the exact same positions. His junior colleague Tanaka looked confused. Didn't we move that bookshelf? Hiroshi checked the truck, everything they had loaded was still there. But somehow, the house had refilled itself. They worked faster in the afternoon, clearing room after room. Every time they finished a space, and looked back, it was occupied again. The same tatami mats, the same low table, the same ceramic vases. Mrs. Nakamura sat in the corner, watching silently. Is there more furniture in storage? Hiroshi asked her. She shook her head slowly. This is all I have. By evening, they had filled 3 moving trucks. But the house looked exactly as it did that morning. Tanaka was sweating, not from exertion, but from fear. We've been moving the same items, over and over, he whispered. Hiroshi counted the boxes on the truck, then counted the boxes in the house. The numbers were impossible, they had moved more than existed. At 9 p.m., they gave up and left. The next morning, Hiroshi called Mrs. Nakamura. We'll finish today, he promised. But when they arrived, the house was empty. Completely empty, as if no one had ever lived there. Mrs. Nakamura was gone too, no forwarding address. Hiroshi still drives past that house sometimes. Through the windows, he can see furniture moving in the darkness. The same furniture they spent 2 days, trying to remove. The dresser was on the 2nd floor when we went to lunch, and in the basement when we returned. My friend Kenji told me this story last month. He works for a small moving company in Osaka, family-owned business. They got a call in November, house in the suburbs, quick job. The client was a middle-aged man, Mr. Sato, recently divorced. He wanted everything moved to storage, couldn't bear to look at it anymore. The house was Western style, built in the 1990s, 2 stories. Kenji and his partner Yamada started with the bedrooms upstairs. There was this antique dresser, heavy mahogany, beautiful craftsmanship. We'll get this after lunch, Yamada said. Need 2 more guys for something this heavy. They marked it with tape, left it in the master bedroom. When they returned an hour later, the dresser was gone. Kenji checked the truck, not there. They searched the whole house, room by room. Finally found it in the basement, in the corner, facing the wall. How did it get down here? Yamada asked Mr. Sato. Mr. Sato looked confused. I've been at work all day. They decided to move it immediately, called for backup. 4 men struggled to carry it up the narrow basement stairs. Loaded it onto the truck, secured it with straps. But when they went back for the next load, the dresser was in the kitchen. The truck straps were still tied, but empty. This is impossible, Yamada said. We just secured it 5 minutes ago. They moved it again, this time watching it constantly. As soon as they looked away, even for a second, it would disappear. They found it in different rooms, different floors, always facing away. Mr. Sato was getting nervous. Maybe we should leave it, he said. But Kenji was determined, professional pride. On the 7th attempt, they finally got it to the storage unit. Locked the door, drove away quickly. The next morning, the storage company called. Your dresser is missing, but the unit is still locked. Kenji drove back to Mr. Sato's house, just to check. The dresser was in the basement, in the same corner, facing the same wall. It had the shape of furniture, but furniture does not choose where it wants to be. Every time we reached for the door handle, our hands would freeze in midair. This happened to a moving crew in Kyoto, 3 months ago. My cousin works for the company, he was there that day. They were clearing out a traditional machiya, old merchant house. The building was over 100 years old, narrow and deep, typical Kyoto style. The owner had died, his son hired them to empty everything. Most of the house went smoothly, room by room, antiques and memories. But there was one room, at the very back, past the inner garden. The sliding door was closed, had been closed for years, dust thick on the frame. "What's in there?" my cousin asked the son. "Father's study, he never let anyone enter, not even me." They approached the door together, 3 experienced movers. My cousin reached for the handle first, his hand stopped 6 inches away. Not because he chose to stop, his hand simply would not move closer. Like hitting an invisible wall, or walking into thick water. The second mover tried, same result, hand frozen in mid-reach. The third man thought they were joking, until he tried himself. None of them could touch that door, no matter how hard they pushed. "Maybe it's locked from the inside," the son suggested. But they weren't even touching the door, the resistance started earlier. They tried different approaches, from the side, from below, even with tools. Nothing worked, the invisible barrier surrounded the entire door frame. "Let's come back tomorrow," they decided. "Maybe we're just tired." The next day, same problem, hands stopped in midair. They brought different crew members, 5 men total, all experienced. Same result, no one could touch that door. The son was getting frustrated. "Just break it down." But they couldn't get close enough, even with a sledgehammer. The barrier stopped everything, tools, hands, even thrown objects. After a week, they gave up and finished the rest of the house. The son sold the building with that room still sealed. Every few months, someone tries to open that door. New owners, contractors, curious neighbors, police officers. But the door remains closed, and every hand stops, 6 inches away. We moved Mrs. Tanaka's entire apartment, but Mrs. Tanaka had been dead for 3 years. This happened to my brother-in-law's moving company last winter. They got a call on a Tuesday morning, elderly woman's voice, very polite. "I need to move to a smaller place," she said. "Can you help me Thursday?" Mrs. Tanaka, apartment 304, Sumida Ward, nothing unusual about the booking. She paid in advance, bank transfer, 500,000 yen. Thursday morning, my brother-in-law and 2 workers arrived at the apartment building. 1980s construction, concrete and steel, dozens of identical units. They climbed to the 3rd floor, apartment 304, knocked on the door. "Come in," called a voice from inside. The door is unlocked. They entered to find a typical elderly person's apartment, neat and organized. Traditional furniture, ceramic tea sets, family photos on every surface. "Mrs. Tanaka," my brother-in-law called. "We're here to help you move. Please start with the bedroom," her voice replied. "I'm getting ready." They worked efficiently, packing clothes, wrapping dishes, boxing memories. Occasionally they heard her moving around, footsteps, drawers opening. But they never saw her, she was always in the next room. By noon, they had packed everything, ready for transport. "Mrs. Tanaka, where would you like us to deliver everything?" Silence, no response, no footsteps. They searched the apartment, every room, every closet, completely empty. No Mrs. Tanaka, no sign she had ever been there that day. Confused, they went to the building manager. "Mrs. Tanaka in 304, he said. "She died 3 years ago, heart attack. The apartment's been empty since then, we can't rent it out." My brother-in-law showed him the work order, the payment receipt. The manager checked his records. "This signature, this is her handwriting." They returned to 304. All the furniture was back, arranged exactly as before. The family photos, the tea sets, everything in its original place. The truck outside was empty, but they remembered loading it for hours. 3 years later, Mrs. Tanaka calls every few months. "I need to move to a smaller place, can you help me?" The apartment building was demolished last month, but apartment 304 was never there. The GPS led us to an empty lot, but we could see the house clearly, and smell the incense burning inside. This is my own story, from last month. I still can't explain. I work for a small moving company in Tokyo, mostly residential jobs. We got a call on Friday afternoon, urgent move, weekend premium rates. The client was Mr. Hayashi, soft-spoken man, very specific instructions. House in Setagaya, 4-12-8 Kitazawa, pick up Saturday morning at 9. Saturday morning, my partner Suzuki and I loaded the truck, drove to Setagaya. The GPS took us down narrow residential streets, typical Tokyo neighborhood. But when we reached 4-12-8 Kitazawa, there was nothing there. Just an empty lot, weeds and concrete foundations, obviously vacant for years. Wrong address, Suzuki suggested, checking his phone again. But the GPS was clear, 4-12-8 Kitazawa, this empty lot. I called Mr. Hayashi. We're at the address, but there's no house here. Look more carefully, he said. Traditional house, blue roof tiles, wooden gate. I looked again, and suddenly, I could see it. A beautiful old house, exactly as he described, blue tiles gleaming in the morning sun. Suzuki was staring at the same spot. Do you see that? He whispered. We both saw it now, clear as daylight, but somehow, not quite solid. We walked through the wooden gate, up the stone path, to the front door. Mr. Hayashi opened it immediately, as if he'd been watching for us. Elderly man, traditional dress, gentle smile, completely normal. Thank you for coming, he said. Please, take everything to the temple. The house was filled with religious items, Buddhist altars, incense burners, prayer beads. We worked for 3 hours, loading box after box, statue after statue. Mr. Hayashi followed us to the temple, Katokuji, just a few blocks away. We unloaded everything in the temple courtyard, arranged it carefully. Perfect, Mr. Hayashi said. My family's belongings, finally home. He paid us in cash, old bills, crisp and clean, exactly the quoted amount. We drove back to the office, job complete, nothing seemed unusual. But that evening, I drove past 4-12-8 Kitazawa again. Empty lot, weeds and foundations, no house, no gate, no blue tiles. I asked the temple priest about Mr. Hayashi the next day. Hayashi-san, he said, our former head priest, died 15 years ago. His house was demolished to build that parking lot, took us months to relocate his altar. I checked my wallet, the money he paid us, had turned to temple prayer cards.